Number 10. The English Reformation. The English Reformation is when England broke off from the Church in the 16th century. During this time, Protestantism was popular in England. The Church had recently recognized Lutheranism, but only that religion. King Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife and needed the permission of the Pope. But being unable to divorce his wife, he created a new church in Britain that allowed him to divorce. This allowed religious freedom in England, which was unheard of in Europe. Number 9. The 95 Theses. During the beginning of the Reformation that began to spread throughout Europe, it all began in Germany. People began to truly challenge the authority of the Church. In its aid, the printing press came along, but that will be referred to later. The main leader of the Reformation was Martin Luther, who had posted his 95 Theses against the Church. Number 8. The 30 Years' War. The 30 Years' War began after King Ferdinand of Bohemia, who had previously revoked the Letter of Majesty, a letter in which granted religious freedom to the people of one's nation. Ferdinand had rejected this letter. Then he sent 2 royal officials to suppress Protestant noblemen. The royal officials were then thrown from a window, thus beginning the war. Number 7. The Renaissance. The Renaissance was a period of time when the people of Europe began to form more secular ideas. Many scholars started to embrace these new secular ideas, and this is translated through art and mathematics. This was also seen within Florence, where major banking was formed, and at the time that was brand new. Also, great artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Titian also gained popularity. Number 6. The discovery of the Americas. During this time of European history, discovery and exploration were key and one of the most valuable things to a nation. For instance, Portugal, a very poor country, began to fund exploration, which led to things such as the discovery of India. But this also led to explorers marrying rich African traders, which in turn led to more wealth. But one of the biggest finds was America from Spain. While arriving, they instead of finding gold, found great natives to enslave and convert to Christianity. Many European explorers set out to the sea to find gold, glory, and God. Though, as they began to move to the New World, America, they brought over diseases and then took over food to Europe, which led to an increase in population. Though native slaves did die rather quickly, so the African slaves were then imported to the Americas to be worked, thus beginning the Atlantic slave trade. Number 5. The Scientific Revolution. This was a period in time when scientists, or at the time, natural philosophers, would re-examine old ways of thinking, which at the time were revolutionary. During this time, the standard was set for future ways of science. This revolution mainly took to the stars, with people like Copernicus discovering that the Earth revolved around the Sun rather than the Earth, or even Brahe, who built many astronomical instruments such as an observatory. Lastly, one of the most important is Galileo, who pioneered the scientific method, which is used commonly in modern day. Number 4. The Enlightenment. Now, as time began to progress, one question peered into the mind of many young Europeans. Why? So with that came the powerful Enlightenment. This period of time mainly aimed to minimize human suffering, but three main questions came to the minds of these enlightened thinkers. What were the limits of rulers? What was religion? And finally, how to make a better society. The father of all the Enlightenment, Isaac Newton, was the first to ever make a working mathematical formula for motion. He discovered gravity and made calculus. This challenged the beliefs of many religions. The thing we can thank for that was a mere apple that fell atop Newton's head. Number 3. The Black Plague. Now, moving a lot earlier within European history came the Black Death. Imagine losing everyone you know, love, and care for. Imagine walking through the once busy and bustling streets, and instead being met with an empty one, the smell of rotting flesh filling the air. That is the Black Death. About half of Europe was destroyed just due to one plague, and it was primarily carried through rats and fleas. But from the large amounts of human travel, the plague spread easily. Then, not to mention, many began to question the plague due to large amounts of religious power. The biggest was the Great Schism that occurred because 3 popes were accidentally elected. Many thought that was odd because the church shouldn't make mistakes. This then began to spiral into hundreds of other complications for the church further down the line. Number 2. The French Revolution. At this point in history, France was in a complete horrible position. They were in neck-high deep amount of debt due to the countless wars that drained their wealth. France was also steadily falling out of favor on the outside. They were considered too powerful and too large for their own good. They also really didn't do so well on the inside. The horrible Louis XVI ruled throughout France. He had an estate rule that was wildly unbalanced. The first 2 estates, clergy and aristocracy, had way too many privileges, and the third estate basically just made up everybody else. The third estate had large amounts of taxes and was outweighed in voting as compared to the other 2 estates. Though, as these problems began to steadily approach Louis, he was forced to summon the estate's general. Once again, the third estate was unfairly locked out of the meeting and forced to a nearby indoor tennis court. Here, they locked themselves in until they created a nation of individual citizens instead of a kingdom of servile subjects, which then led to the tennis court ode. Number 1. Napoleon. Finally, we start a story about one of the most important and influential figures in all of European history, Napoleon Bonaparte. He was born off the coast of Italy in the French island known as Portia, where he was instilled in a great feeling of being special. He was given a scholarship to a military school in France. Once there, he was seen as more of an outsider, a second-class citizen, if you will. The poor, ambitious child was not treated fairly. Though, because he so graciously looked up at people like Alexander the Great and Hannibal, he was able to rise through the ranks of the French military. He took up reins against Italy with an unprepared army. He defeated Austria and forced them out of the war. Greatest of all, he crowned himself. But his ego began to grow out of control. He enacted the continental system, which was heavily flawed. Then, when nations united, he came to invade, even if he was way over in his head, like in Russia. After the humiliating invasion of Russia, he was banished to an island to live out the rest of his days. But he didn't let that stop him. He came back, unarmed, got an army, and went to Waterloo, where he suffered another humiliating defeat. Finally, he was banished for the last time.